What if I told you that time itself is the symptom, not the cause? That every moment you've spent waiting for something to manifest wasn't about patience, worthiness, or divine timing. It was about something far more precise. Reality doesn't delay. You do. Not through negativity, not through doubt, but through something far more subtle, internal fragmentation. When your conscious desire points north, your emotional body braces for south, and your nervous system prepares for east, you've just created the experience of time. Think of it like this: a radio transmitter broadcasting on 3 different frequencies simultaneously. The signal doesn't disappear. It scatters, and scattered signals cannot land with precision. This is why certain desires materialized instantly in your life, while others seem to take forever. You weren't more deserving in those quick moments. You were simply unified. And unity collapses time the way a lens focuses scattered light into a single burning point. Most manifestation teachings miss this completely. They treat the universe like a cosmic customer service department. Submit your request and wait for processing. But consciousness doesn't work on processing time. It works on coherence. A fragmented state cannot be reflected instantly because it's still reorganizing itself internally. The external world isn't stalling. It's waiting for your internal broadcast to stabilize. Here's what really happens when you try harder to manifest. Effort reveals lack. Lack generates urgency. Urgency creates tension. Tension splits your signal across multiple timelines. The one where you have it, the one where you're getting it, and the one where you're still waiting for it. And reality, reading all 3 frequencies, responds with, "Not yet clear. Standing by." You didn't broadcast "not yet" through negative thinking. You broadcast it through anticipation itself, through planning, through explaining your vision to others before it stabilized within you. Every time you referenced your future self as the one who will finally have it together, you pushed alignment into tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. From the quantum level, this makes perfect sense. The observer doesn't just watch reality, they collapse it through their state of being. A divided observer creates probabilistic spread. Instead of possibility collapsing into form, it stretches across time, waiting for coherence. Your nervous system plays the central role here. A regulated system signals safety and presence. A dysregulated system signals preparation and anticipation. And preparation always implies waiting. This is the hidden pattern beneath inconsistent manifestation. You can be positive, spiritual, even hopeful. But if your body is still preparing for life rather than living from fulfillment, the field keeps fulfillment in preparation mode. Nothing is broken when things feel slow. It's simply feedback. The signal hasn't locked in yet. But here's the truth that changes everything. Once alignment stabilizes, time doesn't just speed up. It disappears from the equation entirely. Things don't feel fast. They feel inevitable. Opportunities emerge without effort. Responses arrive without chase. Events synchronize without planning. And it doesn't register as miraculous. It registers as normal. This is why people who truly operate from alignment rarely discuss it. They don't announce their intentions. They don't explain their process. They don't seek validation, because explanation itself leaks the signal. In the next section, we'll examine exactly how your brain manufactures the illusion of time when alignment fractures, why this illusion loops year after year, and how to exit it without forcing positivity or pretending everything is fine. Because here's what's true. Manifestation has never required time. It only appears that way until coherence clicks. And when it does, reality has nothing to wait for. Your brain doesn't experience time like a clock. It experiences time as a sensation generated by unresolved internal states. When something inside feels incomplete, your brain stretches perception forward. That stretch is what you interpret as waiting. Neurologically, your nervous system operates on one fundamental question. Am I safe to be fully present right now? If yes, the system settles into coherence. If uncertain, the system activates preparation mode. And preparation is never neutral. Preparation is anticipation. Anticipation automatically projects consciousness forward. This is how time gets created. When your nervous system detects that something essential hasn't arrived yet, security, recognition, freedom, love, it doesn't relax into this moment. It orients toward future resolution. And that orientation generates the sensation that life is unfolding slowly. You're not experiencing time passing. You're experiencing delay awareness. This explains why 2 people can live through identical circumstances and have completely different perceptions of duration. One person was internally settled, they experienced flow. The other was internally waiting, they experienced time. Waiting is biological, not mental. Hope, effort, planning, they all feel productive to your conscious mind. But neurologically, they signal that the present moment is insufficient. That signal keeps your system subtly activated. And activation prevents coherence. From a manifestation standpoint, this matters immensely because coherence is what collapses probability into form. A nervous system locked in preparation mode is never fully available. And reality responds to availability, not desire intensity. This is where conventional manifestation advice accidentally sabotages people. It encourages constant future focus. Visualize it daily, plan for it obsessively, think about it, talk about it. All of these reinforce future orientation. They strengthen the sensation that fulfillment exists ahead of you. And ahead is just another word for delay. Your brain doesn't register visualization as reality when your body remains tense. It registers it as rehearsal. Rehearsal keeps you in standby mode. Standby mode broadcasts, not yet ready to the field. This is why alignment feels radically different from motivation. Motivation pushes you forward. Alignment settles you inward. Motivation is movement. Alignment is stability. And stability collapses time. From the quantum perspective, this mirrors the observer effect perfectly. An observer divided between now and later creates probabilistic scatter. Outcomes disperse instead of condensing. The system contains too much noise for clean response. Noise is generated by anticipation. This explains the phenomenon of sudden manifestation after giving up. You didn't abandon desire. You dropped anticipation. Anticipation was the interference pattern. Once it dissolved, coherence returned instantly, and reality responded immediately. This doesn't mean suppress your wants or pretend indifference. Suppression creates inner tension. Pretending creates dissonance. The shift is more subtle and infinitely more powerful. It's about releasing the internal insistence that something external must happen before you can be okay. The moment your nervous system stops needing the future to validate the present, time collapses. The system enters availability, and availability is what the field mirrors. This is why aligned manifestation feels both effortless and immediate. There's no sense of chasing, no sense of almost there, no waiting for permission from reality. You're not moving toward a future version of yourself that will finally relax. You're already relaxed. And that relaxation isn't passive, it's deeply coherent. It's the state where nothing inside you creates counterforce. This is the state where manifestation stops being inconsistent, because the system is no longer oscillating. It's stable. In the next section, we'll go deeper into how the quantum field actually reads alignment, why identity matters infinitely more than intention, and why once you truly understand this mechanism, you stop explaining your process to others. Because explanation, like anticipation, is another way time sneaks back in. And the moment time returns, alignment quietly dissolves. The quantum field doesn't respond to intention the way most people assume. Intention without identity is weak. The field isn't reading what you want. It's reading who you're being while you want it. This distinction separates alignment from effort. Identity isn't a concept or affirmation. It's a stabilized pattern of expectation, emotion, and behavior that your nervous system defaults to automatically. The field responds to that pattern because it's consistent. Consistency is what collapses probability into form. This is why manifestation feels slow when identity remains unstable. You may intend abundance, freedom, transformation. But if your internal identity still expects delay, proving, or becoming, the field reflects that expectation back as postponement. The field doesn't ask, what do you want? It asks, what state are you consistently broadcasting? From the quantum perspective, coherence is everything. Coherence means the signal doesn't fluctuate. When identity oscillates, hopeful Monday, doubtful Wednesday, calm in the morning, urgent by evening, probability spreads. Outcomes remain in superposition instead of forming into experience. This also explains why aligned people stop discussing what they're creating. Speaking is often stabilization-seeking behavior. It's a way to reinforce identity externally when it hasn't fully settled internally. Once identity stabilizes, explanation vanishes. You don't explain what you are. You don't narrate what feels normal. You don't justify what you trust. Silence emerges naturally because nothing requires reinforcement. The signal is already coherent. This is the real meaning behind keep it to yourself. It's not about secrecy or superstition. It's about signal integrity. Every time you explain your vision, your plan, your process to others, you introduce external feedback. Feedback creates adjustment impulses. Adjustment introduces instability. Instability reintroduces time. Aligned people protect coherence instinctively. They speak less, not because they're hiding anything, but because speaking would fragment what's already whole. Neurobiologically, this makes complete sense. Speaking activates evaluation circuits in your brain. Evaluation pulls awareness out of embodied presence and into performance mode. Performance introduces self-monitoring. Self-monitoring destabilizes identity. And identity instability slows manifestation. This is why the fastest transformations often happen during quiet periods. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is settling. The nervous system stops rehearsing, correcting, preparing. It starts inhabiting. Inhabiting is alignment. When identity is inhabited rather than performed, time collapses. Not because events accelerate, but because resistance disappears. Reality doesn't need to pace itself against an unstable observer. It meets stability with immediacy. This is also why aligned manifestation feels strangely private. It's not something you feel compelled to share prematurely. The state feels complete within itself. Sharing would add nothing to it. And the moment you feel this, you understand something fundamental. Manifestation was never about making reality move faster. It was about becoming someone reality could respond to without delay. Not because you deserve it. Not because you waited long enough. But because your signal stopped changing. In the next section, we'll explore the final layer. How to live from alignment without guarding it obsessively. How to return to it when life temporarily pulls you out. And why true alignment doesn't require protection. It requires familiarity. Because once alignment becomes familiar, it becomes permanent. And when it becomes permanent, time loses all relevance. At this stage, the most important realization is this: alignment is not fragile. It only feels fragile when it's unfamiliar. What most people call losing alignment is simply the nervous system returning to an old identity pattern out of habit. And habits aren't failures. They're memory. Alignment becomes permanent the moment you stop treating it as a special state to protect. The mistake people make after touching alignment is trying to preserve it. They become hypervigilant. They monitor their thoughts. They avoid negativity. They try to maintain the right frequency. And without realizing it, they reintroduce effort. Effort breeds vigilance. Vigilance breeds tension. And tension fractures coherence. True alignment doesn't require guarding. It requires familiarity. Familiarity comes from repetition without drama. From letting alignment come and go without judgment until your nervous system learns that this state is safe, normal, and sustainable. Once your body trusts the state, it stops abandoning it under pressure. This is where manifestation stops being situational and becomes structural. Neurobiologically, your nervous system always defaults to what feels familiar under stress. If alignment only exists during meditation or calm moments, it will evaporate the instant life challenges you. But if alignment is practiced in neutrality, not during peak states, not during crisis, just during ordinary moments, it becomes your baseline. Baseline is everything. Baseline identity is what the quantum field responds to consistently. Not your best moments. Not your worst moments. Your baseline. This is why alignment must be integrated into ordinary life. Not only during meditation, not only during reflection, but while making decisions, while speaking casually, while facing uncertainty, while doing nothing remarkable at all. When alignment is ordinary, it becomes powerful. You'll recognize this integration when challenges no longer knock you out of yourself. They don't trigger urgency. They don't pull you into explanation. They don't make you question if you're doing it wrong. You stay present even while responding. That presence is the signal. From the quantum standpoint, this presence creates a stable observer. And a stable observer collapses reality cleanly. Not dramatically, not magically, efficiently. This is why people living in alignment often describe life as working out without effort. Not because nothing goes wrong, but because nothing pulls them out of coherence long enough to create delay. They don't need to return to alignment. They never left it. This is also where obsession with results dissolves. You no longer scan the external world for confirmation. Confirmation becomes unnecessary because the internal state is complete. The need for proof disappears. And paradoxically, that's when proof arrives. Not because you stopped wanting, but because you stopped needing reality to respond for you to feel aligned. Need is pressure. Pressure distorts signal. Once need dissolves, alignment remains uninterrupted. And uninterrupted alignment produces consistent response. This is the quiet power most people never discuss. Not because it's secret, but because once you live it, there's nothing to sell, explain, or dramatize. It's simply how reality works. In the final section, we'll integrate everything into a single understanding. Why manifestation never required time, how alignment removes delay permanently, and how to recognize when you've crossed the threshold where reality no longer needs convincing. Because once you reach that point, manifestation doesn't feel like creation anymore. It feels like participation. Eventually, you reach a point where manifestation stops feeling like a process altogether. There's no method running in the background, no internal checklist, no monitoring of thoughts or emotions. Life simply responds in proportion to how settled you are inside yourself. This is the moment alignment becomes your default, not your goal. At this level, you don't measure time anymore. You don't ask how long things will take. You don't wonder whether something is coming. Those questions belong to a state that needed reassurance. And reassurance is no longer necessary when identity has stabilized. The deepest shift is realizing that reality never needed motivation from you. It needed clarity. And clarity only appears when you stop splitting yourself across timelines, hoping in the future while merely tolerating the present. When alignment is complete, the present moment is enough. Not because everything is perfect, but because nothing inside you is postponing wholeness. You're no longer waiting to arrive somewhere emotionally before allowing yourself to be settled. That internal settlement is what reality mirrors. From the quantum perspective, this is sustained coherence. From the neurological perspective, this is a regulated system that no longer anticipates threat or reward. From the identity perspective, this is maturity, not age, but integration. You're not becoming someone else. You're no longer divided. And division was the only thing creating time. This is why manifestation doesn't feel dramatic at this level. There's no emotional spike when things happen. No disbelief. No finally. Events land softly, almost quietly, because internally you were already there. This is the point where people stop talking about manifestation. Not because it stopped working, but because it became obvious. Like gravity. Like cause and effect. Like something that no longer needs language. You don't announce alignment. You live it. And because you live it, reality stops negotiating with you. It doesn't test you. It doesn't delay you. It doesn't make you prove readiness. It responds as soon as the signal is clear. This is the level where effort exits completely. If you're feeling this shift beginning, that sense of no longer chasing, no longer waiting, no longer explaining, then you're already closer than you think. The work now isn't to intensify, but to stabilize. Not to seek more insight, but to embody what's already clear. What matters at this point is integration, turning alignment from a peak experience into a baseline reality, making coherence so familiar to your nervous system that it becomes your automatic response to life. That's the real work. Not acquiring more knowledge, not finding better techniques, but living from this understanding until it becomes who you are, not what you do. Remember this above everything else. Manifestation never took time because time was never the barrier. Alignment was. And once alignment became who you are, not something you do, not something you achieve, but simply your natural state, reality had no reason to wait. It didn't rush toward you. It simply met you where you already stood. That's not manifestation as effort. That's manifestation as alignment. That's manifestation as life itself.